at Sandown Central. I want to welcome everybody to our pre-K open house evening. So we're going to start with preschool and pre-K this evening. So I'd like to introduce our panel of experts here, depending on how you look. So our group here will just say a wave. So I want to introduce Amy Daly. She is our pre-K to grade 5 special ed coordinator. We have Julie Manfred. She is our preschool teacher, teaches at 3s, and Miss Christine Crocker. Miss Chrissy, she does pre-K 3. And then we have Amanda Hackney. She is our preschool teacher as well. And Miss Courtney Pellegrino. She is our pre-K 4 teacher, along with Sarah LaCroix, who is our other pre-K 4 teacher. And along for some registration questions, we have our school secretary, Christina Winchester. So welcome, everybody. So I just want to do a little disclaimer, and you could see that in the front. This is a Zoom meeting that's being recorded so that families that cannot attend tonight can see it at a later time. So, and it'll also be posted on our school website. And if you're not familiar with Zoom, if you look at the bottom of your screen, there is a Q&A, and there's also a raise hand option. So if you have a question after the staff does a presentation, you can feel free to type in a question in the Q&A or the chat, or you can raise your hand. And you'll be unmuted, and then you can ask your question. So I would like to turn it over to our school secretary. She's just going to start with some basic registration questions, and hopefully this information will help you. And then we'll turn it over and do a quick little PowerPoint for you. Oh, Tina, you just have to unmute.
Better? Can you hear me? Okay. So I'll just quickly talk about re-enrollment and enroll registration. If your child is currently enrolled in our program, re-enrollment will happen in July. So you'll get informed about re-enrollment, and you'll be able to re-enroll your child where you need to in July. So you don't have to worry about that right now. As far as registration, when you go onto the timberlane.net website, you just have to make sure you choose the correct school year when you're enrolling your child. So you just want to make sure that you hit the 2021-22 school year for the new registration. It'll ask you to create a username and password, and you just fill out all the information needed and hit submit. And once you submit, it comes directly to the school, and we'll be able to process from there. And then you'll see at the end, you'll see what required documentation we need in order for your child to begin school. So before the fall, you'll have a list of documentation that we do need that you can either come to the school, scan our email, or just give me a call and we can help you through the process. And part of the documentation needed is your child's physical and immunization. It just has to be within, if you don't have a new one, within the current school year. And any health concerns, you can also call the school. And all documentation that we do receive is confidential. If tuition is required for your child for the school year, you'll be receiving tuition agreements that will need to be filled out, signed, and sent to the school with the required first month's deposit sent back due in August. So that's pretty much all the basics for registration.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
And again, if anybody's on, if you have any questions about registration, you could always call the school at 887-3648 and get more detailed information. So I believe I'll be turning it over to Miss Chrissy, who's going to start our PowerPoint.
Hi, everybody. We have about 7 to 8 slides on this PowerPoint, and then when we'll talk through it a little bit, and then at the end, we'll have a Q&A section where you can ask or type a question. So we did a quick introduction to begin with. I think the only people that were not present, they were doing a separate presentation. We have 2 speech pathologists at our school, Heather and Allie. We have an OT, Pat, and a PT, Janice. So part of our preschool curriculum breaks down into several different sections. This is part of our curriculum. We use lots of resources to work on these skills. This is a typical day at preschool. We do a lot of routines because that helps students kind of know the expectations, understand what's expected of them, and then we can also build their independent skills. We typically have a circle in the morning. We do guided reading or shared reading. We do usually 2 to 3 centers per day, snack, music and movement. We do exploration where children are able to make a choice through several choices presented. We do a goodbye circle, and then the dismissal routine. 3s and 4s, some of their routines are a little different, but we try to keep the same structure throughout the day.
Christy, would you like me to jump in? I can talk a little bit about what we can expect to bring to school with us.
Of course. Thank you, Sarah.
So when your child does come to TLC, we do request you to have a backpack, a peanut and tree nut free snack. So we do ask that you send snacks labeled with the ingredients on them. We are allergy aware at our school, so that is something that staff members will be checking daily to make sure that the snacks are not manufactured in any facility that works with nuts. Also a drink, a lot of families send juice or water bottles with them for school for the day. We like to have a change of clothes kept at school in case of any accidents or spills. And for right now, we are requesting an extra face mask. I'm not sure what our policy will be coming into the next school year, but just this is what we have been doing and asking for this school year. We will be sending folders and newsletters home, information from the school and from the office. So the backpack will be important to be checked every night. And then that way, that's a great way for you to communicate with us and send us notes if you have any questions throughout the school year as well.
Also something to think about too, if your child is not quite potty trained or they're working on it, that'd be something else that we'd need to have for their toileting needs in the backpack too. Doesn't apply to all.
So we do have some different program options available. Children who are turning 3 years old by September 30th would be part of our preschool program. So their typical enrollment is the 2 half days per week. There is a tuition of $1,100 for the year. I know Miss Tina already talked a little bit about how you would receive a tuition notice. There's also the program pre-kindergarten for children who are turning 4 years old by September 30th. That program runs for 4 half days per week, and that tuition would be $2,200 for the year. In addition to that, we typically run a peer partner program, which would involve children being screened prior to being accepted to that program. And the tuition would be $1,350 or $2,700 for each program, depending on if they are in the 3-year-old or the 4-year-old peer partner program. Our peer partner programs, that means that sometimes we have students who are coming to school and they are modeling certain or expected behaviors, and that's why there is that screening portion. So this kind of talks a little bit more about our peer partner program for you. Students must qualify for the program. They're able to really have a lot of self-help skills for themselves, demonstrate age expected behaviors and play. They have strong social emotional skills and communication skills as well. It is a limited program. And for right now, we do not have a peer partner screening date set yet. When you register your child, though, you will be able to select an option if you are interested in learning more about this program. And then after we get that information, you should expect to hear from somebody at the school for the next steps.
Sarah, do you want me to go through this one?
Sure, thank you, Chrissy.
Sure. So these are some transportation options. So students who live in Sandown may be eligible to ride this district's Sandown kindergarten bus, pending SAU approval. AM students may be eligible to be transported to school from home. PM students may be eligible to be transported to home from school. Peer partners may be eligible to be transported, to and from school on full days as well. There is no transportation available at midday, and students who live in other district towns or out of district must provide their own transportation. So I know Ms. Tina went through some of these pieces already. These are just some information tidbits of what you would need in order to register your child.
Excellent, thank you.
Sure.
So if there are any questions from anybody that is watching right now, you could either raise your hand and you'll get called on, or if you could type something in the Q&A. Unless we covered it all perfectly and there are no questions whatsoever, that's a first, but that would be great. Okay, the question we have is it lottery for the 3-year-old preschool class? So I'm not sure if anybody wants to answer that, but typically it depends on when your child turns 3, but we typically don't do lotteries for placement. We usually try, unless we're capped out, but we try to place every student. Great question, Amy. Where can I email the documents for registration? You can, yeah, Tina, do you want to give him your email address?
You're muted, Tina.
Sorry about that. My email address is Christina, CHRISTINA .winship, WINSHIP as in Paul, @timberlane.net. And you can email the documentation to me, scan an email if it's easier for you.
Here we have one more question. If your child just makes the cutoff for the age, can they repeat 3-year preschool the next year? So typically we would have to evaluate your child and see how they do that school year. And then we would speak typically in the springtime to talk about our retention. Let's see, another question. Do preschoolers have to wear masks the whole day? There's 3 questions. So the first question would be, yes, they do. Currently, right now, I don't have a set plan, and the SAU and the district has not decided a plan yet for the fall, but there is a requirement right now to have mask tolerance to last the full 2.5-hour session. We do have recess. And what are the current restrictions for Coveton learning? If you could be a little bit more specific on that. It's a very, very lengthy question, the current restrictions. So it would be social distancing. Right now, they've gone from 6 feet to 3 to 6 feet. Students are hand sanitizing and washing their hands a lot before they come in and out of the building and before they go to recess. Before a snack, they obviously can have mask breaks during snack time.
Jen, can I just add to that also?
Yep.
Just that the preschoolers have been doing really a great job with wearing their masks. We have our desks and tables that are separated. We have it clearly marked and outlined on the floor to help support students in knowing and learning about how to keep that kind of social distance. Also, we are still able to have recess. We have protocols that we've built in for cleaning materials, for so that that way the students can still have access to these different manipulatives while they are at school learning, but we're doing it in just a very structured and safe way. Just as a parent myself, like those are expectations that I would have too for the school. So I just wanted to let the parents know that we do have those protocols. We're making sure that the classroom materials are being sanitized, their workspaces are, the equipment that we're using, and just give some reassurance that they really are doing a great job with the distancing and with the mask wearing as well.
And one of the other questions, you could also, I think you answered part of it, Sarah, was are they sharing supplies and are there learning centers?
Typically in our classroom, we would have learning centers that would be set up where the supplies are being shared. At this point in time right now, we have different learning buckets that are more individual sensory bins for play. We have different rotating play bins and buckets so that the children do get to experience a wide range and variety of toys and materials at school. But as of right now, with the sharing of supplies, it's not like coming to your typical center where you would have a basket of markers or crayons. The children are having their individual workspaces with their individual work bins. So they have their own set of markers and crayons, pencils, glue sticks, and scissors.
And that again is currently what we're doing. Again, the fall could look a little bit different. And our last question is, what do kids in their peer partner program do in the afternoon?
As a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old?
Why don't we cover both?
So traditionally, peer partners would have an AM and then a PM placement. So if a student was in my class in the morning, they would have lunch and then they would go to, say, Julie's class in the afternoon. So we would share that student and both collaborate on report cards and anything that needed to be sent home for progress checking. As 4-year-olds, it's similar.
Yep, I was just going to say for 4-year-olds, your child would also be assigned an AM teacher and a PM teacher, and we would collaborate together. After the first AM session ends, then your child would have a lunch and a recess break built in with the other children who are peer partners, and then they would switch to their afternoon class for their teacher. And that way we're making sure that the children are getting their programming and their educational needs met, and they're also able to help support and be those peer partners and role models for other students.
With part of the collaboration too, we would make sure that we're offering 2 different types of centers and activities, so there's not a repeat of instruction unless needed.
And one of the last questions we have is, which half days does the program run? And we've had a couple different models, so I would say typically just stay tuned for which days the programs would run. If it's a 3-year-old program, it would be 2 days of the week. And if it's the 4-year-old, it would be 4 days of the week, 4 half days. Again, unless you are selected as a peer partner, then that would be the full day. Any other questions? Okay, again, I just want to share the school phone number again, and you have our website. You can access it on timberlane.net, or you can always call the school 603-887-3648. And any one of us can help you. All right, thank you for tuning in, everybody.